Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dr. Obi. Today we're going to talk about something super important that a lot of you have been asking about, which is ETL development and whether it is still a solid career choice for the future. You might be looking to start a career in ETL or data engineering, and you're asking whether this role is here to stay. Or you might be curious about career growth opportunities in ETL, especially in an era where AI and machine learning are transforming data processing. Well, stick around because we're going to be talking about a few things. Number one is the demand for ETL developers in the data industry. Number two is how the ETL role will evolve over the next 3 to 6 years and why. And then we're going to talk about what that will mean for you as you plan your career. The global big data analytics market is projected to reach $840 billion by 2031, compared to $241 billion that was projected for 2021. This massive growth shows how organizations are increasingly turning to data analytics to guide their business operations. So what does this mean for you? Well, as part of this massive growth, organizations will still depend on ETL processes for turning all the data they collect from their customers, from social media, from sensors, from IoT into actionable insights. And ETL plays a major role in that whole process. ETL facilitates data movement between different organizational systems, which means that organizations are increasingly able to understand their customers, understand their business and their future, which also means that right now and in the foreseeable future, ETL developers are in demand across every industry, whether it's finance, whether it's healthcare, whether it's retail, you name it. And come to think of it, as long as companies continue to rely on data for business decision making, they will need ETL developers. ETL developers will become even more critical to business intelligence and AI initiatives that drive organizations today. You could look at this like being the engine room in a ship. Without you, the whole thing might just crumble, might just stall. This means that your role or your future role as an ETL developer remains viable because data still needs to be extracted, transformed, and loaded. Now that we've covered that part, let's learn about the demographics in this role. What is the makeup of ETL developers? Let's take a look at Zapier.com. It's this online company that compiles and analyzes data on different job roles. They note here that they verify their data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. As at the time of this video, the site notes that there are over 126,000 ETL developers in the US. Of this number, their average age is 39 years, and the demand for this role mostly comes from Charlotte, North Carolina. It also reports that the demographics of the ETL developers are 68% men and 32% women. It notes that the average salary is about $92,000 a year. Well, when we go over to the BLS to check, we find that there are specific categories for ETL developers. Goodness, what does this mean? But let's calm down. The BLS cannot realistically account for every single role and every single sub-role. Rather, they provide the overarching category. So in this case, the ETL role can be under the database administrators and architects. Here, it says that the number of jobs in 2023 was 142,000. However, it notes that the median salary is 117,000. So overall, it's not too far off from what Zapier reports. On the other hand, Glassdoor shows something between 99,000 to 131,000, of course. These salaries vary based on the organization and the location. Okay, so let's move on to other things aside from the money. I know the talk about money is fun, but we must move on, right? All right, Another thing that's driving the growth in ETL is cloud services. As cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud continue to explode in popularity, the demand for ETL developers who know their way around cloud environments will also continue to grow. Your knowledge and your experience in this area may make you an MVP of your ETL team. Let's take a quick peek at why cloud is a driver. According to Statista, the cloud computing market continues to grow and is expected to reach an estimated $675 billion in 2024 and shows very few signs of slowing down. So let's fast forward. What does the future look like for the ETL developer in the next 5 years? Here's the thing. Data is growing faster than ever, and organizations are finding better uses of it. As you use many of these apps and sites nowadays, you may notice that many of them are opting you in without your express consent to collect and to use your data for training their AI and machine learning algorithms, which means the complexity of data integration is going through the roof. If you think ETL is going away, think again. It's evolving, and so will your career. Now, here's where it gets even more exciting. The role of the ETL developer is changing, and you will need to adapt if you want to stay relevant. Here are 4 aspects of the role that will evolve. Ever heard of ELT? It's like ETL's cooler and younger cousin. Instead of ETL, which means extract, transform, then load, there will be an increased focus on ELT, which means extract, load, transform. So the load process happens before the transformation. Why the change? With the rise of powerful cloud data warehouses like Snowflake and Google BigQuery, it makes more sense to extract and to load the data into platform first, which is the destination system, and then transform the data there. This becomes more efficient when dealing with large data sets. It is better than to transform the data in the cloud platform where the resources are more elastic and can grow on demand, of course, with more money, than to transform the data at the source location where the resources like disk and memory are less dynamic. So what does this mean for you? Well, you will need to get really good at working with cloud-native tools and distributed systems. It's like going from a manual transmission car to driving an automatic. It's smoother, it's faster, and you'll be doing more orchestration than manual heavy lifting. And I must add a disclaimer. The future focus on orchestration versus coding does not mean you have to abandon SQL programming. For the newbie, you still need to learn how to write T-SQL statements. You still need to know how to write stored procedures. Even though the ETL and ELT work is mostly drag and drop, you kind of still need to be able to write decent T-SQL, write stored procedures, optimize your queries and such. That's like the basic. You can't go anywhere without that. I read about a hiring manager who complained about this. He had interviewed many ETL candidates and had to reject all of them because they had very little or no T-SQL knowledge. So do not let that be you. Remember that you are an ETL developer first and not an ETL tool administrator. As an ETL developer, you're better served when you can write code, SQL code that is. Now, where were we? The second trend concerns AI, or to be more precise, natural language processing, which is the NLP-based ETL. With AI and machine learning driving more data automation, the role of an ETL developer will likely become more focused on overseeing these NLP ETL processes that improve the accuracy of data extraction and transformation. As an ETL developer, you'll be working with AI-driven tools that handle routine tasks while you focus on more complex data problems and optimization. I can just envision how machine learning boosts all the automation, reducing the need for developers to spend countless hours fixing data issues. The third trend is real-time processing. Real-time data processing, ETL, also known as streaming ETL, is a method of extracting, transforming, and loading data from sources into destination in real time. With the growing demand for real-time analytics, ETL tools will evolve to support streaming data processing. This allows you to extract, transform, and load data in real time, making it easy for organizations to have insights, like real-timely insights on our changing world. Real-time ETL continuously extracts data from sources like sensors and application logs, immediately processes it and loads it into a destination database. It can be used in environments where instantaneous data processing is very important for the business, like in sports, in gaming, in gambling, IoT data, in security logs, and fraud detection. In these situations, doing batch ETL, which is the opposite of real-time ETL, might be too slow and probably will not work. Remember when streaming movies became a thing, right? And suddenly no one needed DVDs anymore. Think Redbox. The data landscape is evolving in the same way. And if you adapt to streaming, or in our case, real-time data processing, you'll be the one who is going to win. But here's where it gets even more interesting. With automation, cloud platforms, and tools like Apache, Airflow, Kafka, and others, some tasks ETL developers used to handle manually are now being automated. These tools can automatically orchestrate data integration, reducing the need for hands-on development. So what does that mean? So does that mean that ETL developers have been replaced? No, not so fast. The rise of automation is actually transforming the role rather than eliminating it. All right, so how can you make sure you stay ahead of the game? Here are 3 steps that you can take to future-proof your career. First, get comfortable with cloud platforms. As we've talked about before, ETL is moving to the cloud. Get hands-on with AWS Glue, Azure Data Factory, or Google Cloud Data Flow. Second, learn real-time data processing. Companies are increasingly relying on real-time data analytics. So familiarize yourself with tools like Apache Kafka, Flink, or Spark for streaming data. There are so many tools on Coursera, on Udemy, on LinkedIn that can help you. If you're starting and you don't have the money to dole out to these learning sites, I have a tip for you that will save you some time. If you have a library card in your city, you can use that to access LinkedIn Learning. If you don't already, consider walking or driving to your nearest city library to get a library card. Use it to access and to start using LinkedIn Learning. The third step, stay updated with developments on NLP-based ETL trends. ETL developers now get to work on more strategic tasks like managing complex data pipelines, integrating AI-powered tools, and ensuring data governance and quality. These are all essential in an increasingly data-driven world. Although ETL itself is already an automated data flow process, but all these automation tools enabled by NLP, they are becoming more prevalent in data pipelines, which means that keeping up with these AI-driven tools for ETL or ELT processes will ensure that you stay relevant in this field. Quick story here. I was already a database developer when I started getting interested in ETL. And a fun fact, back then, SSIS, which is Microsoft's ETL tool, was called DTS, which means Data Transformation Services. I know that ages me because it's been a while back. That's what it was called back then. I had just landed my first ETL job because I had been tinkering with DTS in my free time. I just loved the idea. And that extra effort paid off big time. And I know that if I could do it, so can you. The future of ETL development is looking bright. But the key to staying successful is evolving with the field. Okay, so keep at it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated on all things data engineering and ETL. Thanks for watching.